In the Arctic mountains, three friends set out to conquer the snow-covered slopes, but one wrong move plunged them into a nightmare that would soon rewrite medical textbooks. In May 1999, the Kayan Mountains stretched out under the Arctic sun, like frozen waves of a stone ocean. 125 miles north of the Arctic Circle, not far from Narvik, Norway, these ancient peaks held secrets that humanity was only beginning to unravel. Here, where the border between Norway and Sweden was lost in endless snowy expanses, nature wrote its laws not with ink, but with ice and stone. May 20th promised to be one of those deceptively beautiful days when the Arctic spring puts on a mask of hospitality. The sun, which had not set here for months, flooded the slopes with golden light, turning the snowy fields into sparkling mirrors. A fresh blanket of snow, every skier's dream, covered the steep slopes, inviting them to take risks. But behind this beauty lay terrible dangers. Streams fed by meltwater flowed beneath the snow-white blanket. The ice was 8 inches thick and could support the weight of a reindeer, but it was a deadly trap for humans. Every wrong turn, every moment of inattention could be the last. It was here, in the heart of the Norwegian Arctic, that 3 young doctors were heading after another shift at the hospital. They did not know that in a few hours, this beauty would become the backdrop for one of the greatest medical miracles in human history. Anna Bagenholm was one of those people who radiate energy even when they are at rest. At 29, this Swedish woman from a large family possessed a rare combination of professional seriousness and a thirst for adventure. When she was choosing a place for her residency a year ago, the decision was easy: Narvik, a small Norwegian town at the foot of the Kjollen Mountains. Why go to the middle of nowhere, her colleagues wondered. But Anna knew what she was doing. Every day after exhausting shifts at the hospital, she could grab her skis and be on the slopes in half an hour, where the world consisted only of snow, wind, and speed. Skiing wasn't just a hobby, it was her way of breathing. Marie Falkenberg and Torvin Nisheim shared this passion. All 3 were resident doctors, all 3 were skiing enthusiasts, and all 3 had chosen Narvik for the same reason. After tough days at the hospital, they would relieve stress on the slopes, learning every trail and every turn in the mountains. They became more than just colleagues. They were a team, a family that understood each other without words. Anna was training to become an orthopedic surgeon. Her hands, accustomed to the precise movements of a scalpel, were just as confident on skis on the most difficult descents. Her colleagues noted her remarkable composure in critical situations, a quality that would soon be put to the ultimate test. The morning of May 20th was business as usual at the Narvik hospital. The shift had ended, and the Arctic sun was shining outside. The fresh snow on the slopes seemed to be calling out, "Go skiing!" That day, the hospital was celebrating the retirement of their mentor, Dr. Yngve Jönsson. The atmosphere was upbeat, but the party was planned for the evening. For now, there was freedom, sunshine, and untouched snow on familiar slopes. The decision was spontaneous. Anna, Marie, and Torwin gathered their equipment and headed for their favorite off-piste route. They knew these slopes like the back of their hands, having skied here dozens of times. Today, the conditions were perfect. Excellent visibility, fresh snow, and no wind. The group chose a difficult descent, a steep slope that required skill, but offered incredible thrills. Anna went first, confidently carving turns at speed. Marie and Torwin followed her, admiring her technique. And then something completely unexpected happened. The terrain changed in a split second. Maybe there was a hidden bump under the snow, or maybe the snow had melted in that spot. Anna, a master skier with years of experience, lost control for a moment. It all happened in seconds. Loss of control on the slope, falling head first, the crack of ice. Anna's head broke through the thick ice crust and she fell into the water. Her body was stuck in a narrow space under the ice. Only her legs and bright ski boots protruded from the surface, like grim beacons of disaster. The icy water instantly knocked the air out of her lungs and froze her muscles. The first few seconds were pure panic. Her instincts screamed of mortal danger. Her body jerked in an attempt to get out, but her medical training took over. Panic quickly gave way to professional autopilot. Anna froze and assessed the situation. She was alive. And, most importantly, she could breathe. By some incredible stroke of luck, her head was in an air pocket. The shape of the stream, the angle of the fall, the position of her body, everything had come together so that a small space filled with air had formed between the surface of the water and the lower edge of the ice. It was a 1 in 1,000 chance that saved her from instant drowning. In this underwater bubble, surrounded by icy water, Anna began to fight for survival. She forced herself to breathe slowly and rhythmically, conserving precious air. Every breath was deliberate, every exhalation controlled. Underwater, in the icy silence broken only by the beating of her own heart, time changed its nature. Every second stretched into eternity. Anna felt the cold beginning to penetrate her clothes, her body gradually losing heat. Her medical knowledge worked like a death calculator. At this temperature, hypothermia would set in within 10-15 minutes, and she would lose consciousness within half an hour at most. She had minutes to be found. Maybe a little more if she was lucky, but not much. Upstairs, Marie and Torwin rushed in horror to the spot where she had fallen. The scene was horrific. Only their friend's legs were sticking out of the snow-white slope. They grabbed her by the boots, trying to pull her out, but Anna was so stuck in the ice that it was impossible for two people to pull her out. "Hold her! Don't let her drown!" Torvin shouted, frantically dialing the emergency services. Time became their worst enemy. Every second under the icy water brought Anna closer to the point of no return. At 6:27 p.m., a call came in that launched one of the most dramatic rescue operations in Norwegian history. But for now, two doctors were desperately holding onto their friend's legs as she fought for her life in an icy trap. Under the ice, Anna became a perfect survival machine. Her medical brain worked with frightening clarity, cutting off panic and emotion. Breathe slowly, stay warm, conserve oxygen. She knew the physiology of hypothermia better than most, and that knowledge was both her salvation and her curse. For the first 10 minutes, her body fought with all its might. Her blood vessels constricted, sending all the blood to her vital organs. Uncontrollable shivering began, her body's attempt to generate heat. But the icy water took away the heat faster than her body could produce it. Another drama was unfolding above. Marie and Torwind, holding Anna by her boots, took turns trying to break the ice with their bare hands. Their fingers were bleeding, but the thick ice crust wouldn't even crack. "Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up," he repeated like a mantra between phrases to the dispatcher. The rescue service promised to send 2 teams, one from the top of the mountain, the other from the foot. Police Lieutenant Bard Mikkelsen coordinated the operation, but even for experienced rescuers, the journey to the Kjollen Mountains took time. Torvin ended the call and grabbed Anna's second boot. Together, they felt their friend's body twitching under the water. She was still fighting, but with every passing minute, her movements grew weaker. "How long has she been down there?" Marie asked, even though she was counting every second herself. 18 minutes, Torwin replied. As doctors, they both knew the survival statistics for icy water. 18 minutes was critical. By the 20th minute, they felt Anna's body stop twitching. The tremors they felt through their boots became barely noticeable. Her body was giving up, her temperature dropping below the critical 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Underwater, Anna felt her thoughts begin to confuse her. Her medical knowledge told her that the second stage of hypothermia, when the shivering stops, means that the body is giving up. But she was still conscious in her icy bubble, still able to think. 40 minutes later, Anna's worst fear came true. Her heart, exhausted from fighting the cold, began to falter. Her blood pressure dropped. Her breathing became shallow. Marie and Torvin felt their friend's body go limp. Panic overwhelmed them with renewed force. They knew the symptoms. Anna was losing consciousness. And at that temperature, it could only mean one thing: cardiac arrest. At that very moment, the first rescue team was skiing down the mountain at full speed. They brought a rope and a snow shovel, but when they tried to break through the ice, they realized their equipment was useless. The ice was too thick, and the shovel was too blunt. "Where's the team below?" shouted the operation coordinator, Police Lieutenant Bard Mickelson, into his radio. His voice betrayed his nervousness. He knew that every second counted. Then came news that could spell the end of the entire operation. The helicopter from Bodo was delayed. It was transporting a sick child and could not interrupt its mission. Anna remained a hostage of the ice, and time was working against her. By the 60th minute, Anna had fallen into a state that doctors call ice sleep. Her heart was beating less and less, and her breathing was almost imperceptible. Her body temperature had dropped to critical levels, around 68 degrees Fahrenheit. By all medical standards, she should have died. But paradoxically, the extreme cold became her salvation. At such a low temperature, her metabolism slowed down so much that her brain practically stopped needing oxygen. Anna was teetering on the edge of life and death, in a state that doctors would later call protective hibernation. By this time, Marie and Torvin had turned into frozen statues of despair. Their hands were numb, but they did not let go of their friend's boots. They felt that they were no longer holding a living person, but a body. But their medical oath would not allow them to give up. At 7:30 p.m., an hour after the fall, a second team finally arrived from the foot of the mountain. They brought something that changed everything: a pointed garden shovel. A tool designed for working with hard ground turned out to be just what was needed against the Norwegian ice. The rescuers worked frantically. Every blow of the shovel echoed in the hearts of those watching. The ice cracked and gradually gave way. Anna had been underwater for 80 minutes, a period of time that no one in history had ever survived. At 7:40 p.m., the shovel finally broke through the last barrier. The rescuers grabbed Anna's lifeless body and pulled it out onto the snow. What they saw made even the experienced rescuers shudder. Anna was dead. Her pupils were completely dilated and unresponsive to light. Her skin was ashen white with a bluish tint. She wasn't breathing. She had no pulse. Her body was ice cold to the touch, literally like a piece of meat from the freezer. But Torwind and Marie didn't give up. They began CPR right there in the snow, desperately trying to bring their friend's lifeless body back to life. Chest compressions, artificial respiration, compressions, breathing. "Don't give up," Torwind whispered as he performed another cycle of artificial respiration. But even his faith was beginning to crack. Anna had been dead for over an hour. No one comes back after that. Finally, the sound of helicopter blades could be heard in the sky. The red and white medical service helicopter hovered over the slope and quickly landed 160 feet from the hole in the ice. Two medics with a stretcher reached the scene in a minute. The scene was horrific. Dilated pupils, gray skin, no signs of life. What lay before them was definitely a corpse. But according to protocol, the medics were required to continue resuscitation attempts. One connected a portable heart monitor. The screen showed a flat line, no heartbeat. He checked the pupil's reaction to light. None. He measured the body temperature. The readings were critically low. Anna was carefully transferred to a stretcher, with artificial respiration and heart massage continuing. Torvin and Marie squeezed into the cramped cabin with the medics. One performed artificial respiration through a mask, while the other rhythmically pressed on the chest, trying to get the heart to work. The flight to the hospital in Tromsø took 40 minutes. All this time, the medics worked non-stop, pumping air into her lungs, massaging her heart, checking her pulse. But Anna showed no signs of life. Her body remained cold and motionless. At 9:10 p.m., the helicopter landed at the University Hospital of Northern Norway in Tromsø. The emergency team was already waiting. A rare case of hypothermia always mobilized the entire staff. but what they carried out of the helicopter exceeded all expectations. Dr. Mads Gilbert, head of the emergency department, touched Anna's skin and pulled his hand away. "She feels like ice and looks completely dead," he later recalled. The thermometer showed a number that stunned even experienced doctors, 57.2 degrees. It was the lowest body temperature ever recorded in an adult. By all medical standards, Anna had been dead for several hours. The young doctors looked at each other skeptically. Resuscitate a corpse? But Gilbert remembered a principle he had learned in medical school. In cases of severe hypothermia, a patient should not be pronounced dead until their body has been warmed to normal temperature. "We'll try," he told the team firmly. "If her brain was protected by the cold, she has a slim chance." At 9:40 p.m., Anna was connected to a heart-lung machine. The machine took over the functions of her stopped heart and lungs, but most importantly, it began to slowly warm her blood, at a rate of 48.2 to 50 degrees per hour, so as not to cause shock. The operating room turned into a place where science fought death with its bare hands. A large team of doctors and nurses worked in shifts, each understanding that they were witnessing something unprecedented. Some monitored the pressure in the machine, others monitored the blood biochemistry, and still others prepared for possible complications. Time passed, but her condition remained unchanged. The monitor screen showed the same flat line, no heartbeat. Anna looked lifeless, connected to a multitude of machines that were keeping her blood circulating. And then, at 10:15 p.m., a miracle happened. The first spike appeared on the monitor. It was weak and uncertain, but it was a heartbeat. Then a second, a third. Anna's heart, warmed to a critical 82.4 degrees, decided to come back to life. "She's coming back," one of the nurses shouted. The operating room erupted in restrained jubilation, but Gilbert knew this was only the beginning. Getting the heart started was half the battle. The main question remained unanswered. What would happen to her brain? On May 30th, 10 days after the accident, Anna opened her eyes. At first, it was just a reflex. Her pupils reacted to the light. Then came a conscious blink. And then, most importantly, she recognized Torwind, who had not left her bedside. But the joy was mixed with horror. Anna was paralyzed below the neck. Her nerves, damaged by the extreme cold, refused to transmit signals. She could think, feel, and remember. Her brain was intact, but her body would not obey her. "What's wrong with me?" she whispered. And those were the first words that restored hope to everyone around her. She could speak. That meant she could fight. The following days were a marathon of fighting complications. Anna developed acute respiratory distress syndrome. Her lungs refused to work on their own. She spent 35 days on a ventilator and 60 days in intensive care. Her kidneys temporarily failed and her digestive system shut down. But the real battle began after she was discharged from intensive care. In July, Anna was transferred to a rehabilitation center in Sweden, closer to her family. Here, months of hard work awaited her to restore what seemed irretrievably lost. The first weeks were the hardest. Anna lay for hours trying to move her finger. Physiotherapists massaged her arms and legs, stimulating her nerve endings. Every morning began with attempts to feel her own body. Sometimes she managed to feel a slight tingling in her fingertips. The first breakthrough came in August. Anna was able to move her right index finger ever so slightly. This millimeter-long movement was the highlight of the day for the entire rehabilitation team. The doctors explained that the nerves were slowly regenerating, laying new pathways to the muscles. By September, she was able to clench her fists slightly. The movements were uncertain and shaky, but they were her own. Physical therapists added exercises to restore coordination. Simple tasks like trying to pick up a pen or touch her nose. Every achievement came with tremendous effort. What takes a healthy person a second took Anna hours of training. But her medical education helped. She understood the processes taking place in her body and knew that recovery was possible. Emotionally, it was just as difficult. An active athlete accustomed to complete control over her body she was forced to relearn basic movements. There were days of despair when progress seemed too slow, but the support of Torvald, who came every weekend from Norway, helped her not to give up. By October, she had partially regained movement in her hands. Anna could hold objects, write in large letters, and use a computer. Her fine motor skills remained impaired. The precise movements required of a surgeon were no longer possible, but for her work as a radiologist, studying images and making diagnoses, it was enough. In October 1999, 5 months after the accident, Anna returned to work. Not as an orthopedic surgeon, but as a radiologist at the same hospital where she had been saved. Her colleagues greeted her with admiration and awe. The woman who had returned from the brink of death was working among them again. "I am grateful for every day," Anna said in a 2009 interview. By that time, she had not only returned to work full-time, but had also taken up skiing again. The same extreme sport that had nearly killed her became a symbol of her rebirth. Her relationship with Torvald grew into something more than friendship. The man who held her legs over the precipice of death became the man with whom she built a new life. A photograph of that day still hangs in their home. A smiling Anna against a backdrop of snow-capped mountains, taken just hours before the accident. And in the forest near the accident site, a garden shovel hangs on a tree, a memorial erected by the rescuers, the tool that broke through the ice. But the real monument to Anna is not iron, but knowledge. Her case, published in the prestigious journal The Lancet, revolutionized the medical understanding of hypothermia. The warm and dead principle formulated by Gilbert became the standard in hospitals around the world. From 1999 to 2013, 9 out of 24 patients with hypothermic cardiac arrest survived at the University Hospital of Northern Norway. Before Anna's case, this statistic was 0. Each of these 9 survivors owes their life to the lessons learned from 80 minutes under the Arctic ice. Therapeutic hypothermia, the controlled cooling of patients to 89.6 degrees 93.2 degrees to protect the brain, is now used in hospitals from Pittsburgh to Tokyo. Thousands of lives have been saved thanks to a discovery made in an icy stream in the Kjollen Mountains. In 2011, 7-year-old Stella Berntsen survived with a body temperature of 55.4 degrees after drowning in the cold sea. The doctors who saved the girl directly referred to the Anna Bagingholm protocol. Today, Anna continues to work as a radiologist and still skis in the same mountains where she nearly died. Journalists sometimes ask her about that day. She responds simply, "As a patient, you don't think you're going to die. You think, I'm going to make it. But as a medical professional, I find it amazing that I'm alive." Anna's story is not just the story of one woman, but of a team of people who refused to give up. Her friends, rescuers, and doctors showed that sometimes believing in the possibility of a miracle can lead to a scientific breakthrough. In the end, Anna didn't just survive, she changed the world. Anna Bagingholm's story makes you wonder where the limits of human capabilities lie. 80 minutes under ice-cold water, a body temperature of 55.4 degrees, clinical death, and a full recovery. What is this? A coincidence, a scientific phenomenon, or something more? Imagine yourself in Dr. Gilbert's shoes. You have a patient lying in front of you with no signs of life, who by all medical standards should be pronounced dead. What would you choose? To follow the instructions or trust your intuition? It's easy to speculate now, knowing the outcome. But at the time, it was a leap into the unknown. But the most interesting question is, what if Anna wasn't a doctor? Would her colleagues have fought so hard to save the life of an ordinary tourist? Or did medical solidarity play a role in this miracle? We'll never know the answer, but the fact that the question arises says a lot about human nature. If you like this story, don't forget to like it. It motivates us to create even more exciting stories. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos about the fine line between the impossible and the possible. See you in the next episodes. Remember, sometimes a miracle is just science that we don't fully understand yet.